Hey, Pål Krogdahl here. I hope you remembered to bring your coffee. Now, yesterday, which was Sunday, I posted a picture on some of the social internet channels of me working on my racing car, but it was in the context of the year we've had under COVID and how it has affected people's work-life balance. So I also included some text around my reflections over the last year and how the pandemic and the government's efforts in controlling the spread of the pandemic has affected me personally. And it sparked off some very interesting discussions and comments that came back. People saying, for instance, it has increased their anxiety, being locked down, being segregated away. Others saying it's been the best thing in my life. And I think for me personally, it's been somewhere in the middle. I, in my job, have always traveled a lot and spent most of my time meeting people and interacting with customers and colleagues, etc. So I've always had the ability to work from home. I've always had the option to say, I'm going to spend today at home. But the situation changed because we started to get forced to a certain degree to be at home. And I think as the saying says, right, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. And although I made, I think, a fairly good lemonade, it was maybe not as sweet for me as it has been for some other people. I found that I ended up in a situation over a longer period of time where the barriers between work and life or work and private life disappeared. They got eroded, and it became very difficult for me to separate the two. And I've had some people with some very good suggestions on the post that I made, suggesting things like go for a walk before you start your work, and go for a walk after you've finished. And I think that's maybe a good idea. I think I need to reassess, step back, and find a way of finding that balance again. And that's what my post was about. In my spare time, as one of my hobbies, I do amateur car racing, and I realised that I'd neglected the car and neglected my hobby during the whole lockdown period. So I took the option to turn off all the computers, everything else, and go and work on my car for the day. And that sort of also at the same time made me think I need to reassess here, step back, and make sure that I find that balance back in my life. Because I don't think the effects of this pandemic is going to die anytime soon. I think we're going to continue to have, going into the rest of this year, lockdowns, etc., continuing to happen. So probably good to refine that balance before I go completely mad, right? The other thing as well was that the picture sparked off an awful lot of questions from people around the racing. Why do I do the racing? Isn't it expensive, etc.? So, a couple of quick things. Yes, I race a Porsche Boxster, a very early generation 1 Porsche Boxster in the Scandinavian Porsche Sports Cup. Enjoy it thoroughly, but it's something I do as and when I've got the time and availability. I wouldn't say I'm the best driver in the world, but I'm not too bad. I've won a few races here and there. Why a Porsche Boxster? I've got an affinity to Porsche. I've had an affinity since I was a kid. My father, when I was young, bought a Porsche 924, and I fell in love with the car and had an affinity to Porsche ever since. So when I bought my first Porsche, I started becoming a member of the Porsche Club, and through the Porsche Club did some track days and realized I quite enjoyed driving on the track. So found a crash damaged Boxster for very little money, which I fixed up and got ready as a race car. I mean, I am an engineer, so working with a car, getting into to the mechanics, the electrics, etc., is something that I find very soothing, very rewarding when you get things working. So maybe I actually enjoy working on the car more than I enjoy the racing, although driving the car is quite fun as well. As to the price, I think price for any hobby like this is relative. I've got friends with sailing boats where the overall cost far exceeds what it costs me to go racing. And maybe even people who play golf end up paying just as much. I don't know. But you put in what you can and as much as you want. It can cost you a fortune if you want to, but it can also be something that you can control the cost of. You don't always need the latest parts and the fancy upgrades. As they say, the component of any racing car that needs the most work is the nut behind the wheel, so the driver. So most of the effort and time and money should actually be spent on track time, the amount of time you can get out there to just drive the car. So that was nothing today really about work, except for in the beginning talking a little bit about the effect of the pandemic on me and my work-life balance. But I've enjoyed another morning coffee with you guys, and looking forward to another one with you possibly tomorrow. Stay safe out there, guys. Bye bye.